Let me take you back 38 years. I was in downtown Indianapolis at an office of the place that I had worked at the time, and we were celebrating something. That doesn't really matter, and a few bottles of champagne and a bottle of Jack was cracked open. And there were maybe 10 people there and a photographer. We had a staff photographers there taking pictures. And the pictures were being taken as we toasted and laughed. And the photographer wanted to take a picture of me and the boss clinking glasses. And the boss said something like, and I'm going to quote here, "No pictures of me drinking and partying. One day I'm going to run for Senate, and I don't need this stuff to come back and haunt me." Right? And I was like, come on, man. It's no big deal. And the boss got really pissed off, and he went off on this rant about reputations and the media and how he has to run clean. He's going to be a politician. He's going to be in the Senate. He's going to be a senator, and that was his goal since he was a kid. And the funny thing is, this guy knew how to party. And I personally watched him throw down when the cameras were not around, and I thought he was a pretty cool guy. A couple of years later, when I was in the hospital, I had a few visitors over that month, and he was one of them. He had heard through the grapevine that I wasn't doing well, and he took it upon himself to find out where I was, right? I didn't have a phone or anything like that in the hospital. It was before cell phones, and he just showed up. I hadn't seen him for a year, and he just walks through the door with a stack of magazines. I couldn't believe it. We sat there for a couple of hours and talked. And after that, I never saw him again. Did he ever run for the Senate? I don't know. But that isn't what's most important. What is important is that he saw the future. He told me way back then to run clean, to never slip up. He said that everything we do can come back to haunt us. Always to be careful. Now, that boss had no idea about the internet. None of us did back then at that time. But his words meant a lot to me, and I have never forgotten them, ever. Which brings me to today, because over the weekend, I had a long conversation. I was home alone. Rita was out doing some things. I was home alone, and I had a long conversation with an old friend of mine on the phone. And he asked me about what has changed in my life in the last 10 years. And I paused. I paused before I answered. And honestly, the answer was a simple one. I could have said anything because there were a lot of changes that have gone down. But the answer was this. I said, I miss the days when I could just be myself and not have to think before I speak. To have to think before I do something. Today, I have to have my guard up 24/7. And here's the crazy part. Back in the day, when I could do anything I wanted, I didn't. I ran clean. I did. I had the reputation growing up as being the camp counselor. Always, when I was around a group of friends, I was the one telling everybody to chill out. Let's not do this. I always was trying to get everybody to behave. And I still hear about it today from friends from back in the day. Because when I say things like, remember that time when we, right? And I start off with that, and I'll always get interrupted with something like, no, church, we did it. You didn't, right? It's the truth. The practice of running in the safe zone, because of my boss's words so many years ago, ended up serving me pretty well. But here's the problem. Today, even if I wanted to step outside of the circle of safe, I can't. Even my opinions are kept to myself. I'm not allowed to have them. And I understand why, but I often get the question, Jimmy, what is your opinion on, you fill in the blank, get these questions. And I have to offer the same deflection and usually turn it around. And I turn it around with, I don't know, what's your opinion? And then I'll get the opinion, and that's cool, and I learn from that. But you hear me do it all the time. It's because I have to. And although I get frustrated these days because I can't and don't seem to have an opinion on anything anymore, I get reassured about this when I read the news. When I read the news at any point during the day, because it's not the news anymore. It's not the facts. The headlines by anyone are now just opinions. And I don't like it. I just want the black and white facts. Just give me that and let me do what I need to do with it. I don't care about opinions. So now I'm stuck. It's a paradox. I'm being a hypocrite. So why the double standard? Well, there isn't one really. I'm just saying that even if I have an opinion, I can't give it. I'll leave all of the opinion talk up to my guest and the calls that I get each Fader night. Those are the opinions that matter. The only place I get to express my thoughts are in my own home. And it's Rita now that gets to hear my opinions all day long. And trust me, she's starting to get tired of it. She knows me all too well, and she knows exactly what I'm going to say before I say it anyway. Trust me. So it's gotten to the point that I can't have an opinion in my own home. It's crazy. Soon it's just going to be voices in my head. And we all know where that story ends, right? And it's kind of like my father used to say to me. Whenever I complained about anything, he'd say, "It's the life you chose. Deal with it." And I look back and I think about everything and the ability to run clean and run safe and just not make any mistakes. I look back and I just think to myself, the more meaningful words have never been spoken. So I suggest it to everybody. I suggest it to my kids. I mention this to Rita as often as I can, to my friends, to my circle, which is always do the right thing. Always do the right thing. You are given a decision every single day. You're given the decision to go left and go down the wrong road or make a right and go down the right road. You're given those decisions all day long. And it's simple. Don't question it. Always do the right thing. That way, you run in the circle of safe. And that's how I do it. That's how I do it. And I will always live by that. Which also means I don't have opinions. Yep, I do not. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Listen,